and welcome back to their Hardware News Recap for the week. In this one, ByteDance from China has maybe a Steam competitor called GameTop. Also, rumors about an AMD 7500X3D CPU. That's pretty much the extent of that particular news story. There's 5.25-inch drive bays coming back in a new Cooler Master case. So apparently 5.25-inch drives, I've been told this multiple times now, still do well in the Japan market. And Cooler Master's made a new case that supports them. Microsoft announcing its new bastard son of Clippy, Miko, or Myco. I don't know. It doesn't matter. It's disturbing and strange. And then also some other news, like, for example, Meta laying off hundreds of people in its AI division. I guess live by the sword, die by the sword. There were some other major developments this past week too, like NVIDIA's CEO Jensen Huang jumping for joy literally with Palantir's executives out of what we assume is their mutual excitement for destroying lives, and AMD deciding now is a good time to cause some more problems for its GPU reputation. Both of those will get separate videos though, so you can check back for that stuff. Let's get into it. Before that, this video is brought to you by Haven and their new BF360 Flow case. The Haven BF360 Flow is a high airflow case with a focus on performance, with the model that includes fans using two 180mm front intake fans at 40mm thick in combination with a 120mm rear exhaust fan. In our previous testing of the case, we found its thermal performance to be among the best performers on our charts. The BF360 uses a scooped shroud near the GPU that our smoke testing found deflects the air into the leftmost GPU fan for more targeted GPU intake. It also has marked cable management channels, rubber grommets on most metal contact points, and what we think is overall good build quality. Learn more about the Haven BF360 Flow at the link in the description below. Up first, AMD announced its quarterly revenue figures for the third quarter of 2025, and it's reporting record revenue. AMD's quick version of the report indicates a $9.2 billion third quarter revenue with a 36% year-over-year increase, citing $6.8 billion the previous year's third quarter. AMD says its improvement here is from data center and AI demand partially, although its gaming figures were also up. GAAP operating income was at $1.3 billion for the quarter, up from $0.7, or non-GAAP at $2.2 to $1.7 billion previously. AMD's data center segment was shown at $4.3 billion of revenue for the quarter, up almost $1 billion. Of course, citing everyone's favorite buzzword for part of that, with client and gaming, or basically the segment we care about and cover the most, at $4 billion. The gaming segment is reporting actually greater growth and growth in operating margin, with AMD claiming an increase of 73% year over year for revenue in this segment, which it attributes to record rise in CPU sales. And this makes sense. I mean, Intel hasn't really been present in that market, so AMD has pretty much taken over it. AMD also notes GPUs on the page, but interestingly, its strategic highlights column calls out the CPU sales, the Asus Ally handhelds, and FSR 4. But it doesn't mention AMD's discrete GPUs explicitly, or really at all. Maybe they could add other things to their strategic highlights, like shooting self in foot and gaslighting customers. The data center slide points out the OpenAI and AMD partnership and their seemingly impossible rollout plans of 6 gigawatts of AMD GPUs, alongside other developments like the Department of Energy's work with AMD. The embedded market has overall seen a decrease for AMD. Okay, next one. So get your stitches ready, because we're going to follow the media centipede. Don't think too hard about that. That transition, it's really best you don't think about why I said get your stitches ready. According to Tom's Hardware, according to IT Home, according to Tech Planet News via Gamers Nexus, China-based company ByteDance is hiring for a Steam competitor that may be called GameTop. ByteDance is likely most famous for its app Douyin, or basically TikTok. Now, Tom says that, IT Home says that, Tech Planet says that, ByteDance says, said by us, it will launch GameTop. Yes, we're very self-aware here in the news business. The IT Home Post in Chinese says that GameTop is hiring to build a platform with levels, points, medals, and focus on user engagement and social media-like functions. The description sounds to us like Steam's community page, though maybe pushed more heavily, whereas Steam kind of focuses on its store the most. Reading a few publications, our understanding is that GameTop will be a game distribution service like Steam or GOG or Battle.net or whatever else you may use. If I translated it right, my understanding of IT Home's post is that GameTop will also offer some form of content creation software. It's not really clear to us right now if that means specifically for games or also from a social media standpoint. This is clarified in a job listing image in the IT Home post, which says that the platform is intended for, quote, game creation, end quote, via Google Translate of the image, but also for distribution. In an open acknowledgement of the weird techno dystopia we're in, their job requirements include insight, quote, into user psychology and behavior patterns, end quote. At least they're honest about it, seeing as all of these social media and gaming companies at this point seem to aim to exploit these patterns. I feel like there's probably a lot of like EA Games loot box specialists they could hire at this point, or skin salesmen or something. I hope the future still remembers what gaming skins are. Otherwise, that's gonna sound even more dystopian than it already is. The lizards need skin. All right, okay, we need to get back on track here. The rest of the post and the background on ByteDance's recent restructuring in its gaming division talks about some of the improvements it's made there, they think, and also says that they're working on a number of new games that they will be publishing via this distribution platform in theory, at least according to IT Home's interpretation of it. And so it could just be a simple Epic Games launcher, EA Origin, Ubisoft Uplay type of situation, rather than something as competitive as Steam. But it seems everyone sets their sights on Steam first and then settles into giving up on that. So we'll see how far they get. But anyway, no one yet has been able to disrupt Steam's stranglehold. Optical drives. They're still in. At least one viewer right now is saying, never left. Cooler Master recently launched its CM695, mostly to target the Japanese market. Both Silverstone and Cooler Master over the years have told us that 5.25 support remains a key feature in Japan. This is due to heavier use of physical media, and the CM695 seems to be targeting the end of Windows 10 to try and capitalize on potential new builds as a result. Optical disk drives are known as ODDs, although Cooler Master's capitalization choices simply mean that the CM695 has a, quote, classic odd design, end quote. Fair enough. The case has spacious GPU compatibility as well, according to CM. And even though it supports DVD and Blu-ray drives, the case overall maintains some modern features. It's mostly pretty simple internally. The specs include support for 4 3.5-inch hard drives and 5 2.5-inch SSDs, with ventilation handled at the bottom front of the case with 2 120 fans, and a modern mesh panel, which from the photos, it looks like it's one of the finer or ultra-fine mesh types, as we've called it, thanks to what Fantex called it years ago, adding some modern cooling to optical drive support, which is less supportive of cooling for obvious reasons, mostly that you can't put a fan where the optical drive is, at least not without making it a whole lot deeper and blocking some of it. But it's a single 5.25-inch support. Now, if this type of case interests you, we have seen a few launches in recent years that have these. I want to say the Fractal Pop supports 5.25-inch drives as well. Silverstone has also continued to support 5.25-inch drives, not in many cases, but they do tend to have at least one new case every couple of years that supports it. So there's a couple vendors out there if you're interested in it. All right, the next one is a quick rumor without much information yet. So 7500X3D serial hardware enthusiast Momo_US tweeted about the 7500X3D found on a retail website. So this tweet, this thing you're looking at right now, this is literally the entirety of the information for this story. Fortunately, this isn't being run as a news article. Otherwise, we'd have to fill it in with paragraphs upon paragraphs of crap to make sure Google picks it up. But that is it. That's the whole story. You're welcome. I guess if we try to add anything else useful, maybe it's an X3D expansion on the 7500F CPU, and that would suggest that possibly it's a 65-watt part. The 7600X3D, for reference, is $300 at Micro Center, and we'd expect this would be lower than that. We don't know if it'll be sold worldwide. The 5500X3D previously was South American markets only. The 7500F, I want to say, was an Asia market targeted thing, but it's found its way into the US at least. And if it comes out, we'll buy one. We'll let you know how it does. If it launches and it's region specific, if you are able to get access to it, then send us an email if you don't mind. And if we don't have one yet, we'll buy it from you. Up next, Intel reported $13.7 billion in revenue for Q3. According to the company, this represents a 3% year-over-year improvement, which outperformed industry estimates. In a press release, Intel CEO Lip-Bu Tan, and man still holding hatchet after axing 5 figures worth of Intel employees and patting himself on the back, stated this, quote, "Our Q3 results reflect improved execution and steady progress against our strategic priorities," end quote. Now, we're told that when asked if there's anything even more meaningless and corporate that Lip-Bu Tan could add, he said, "Let's put a pin in that. Let's table that for now." Let's circle back on that. Thang also, of course, attributed it to the rise of
AI
and discussed Intel's role in that gold rush, stating, quote, AI is accelerating demand for compute and creating attractive opportunities across our portfolio, including our core x86 platforms, new efforts in purpose-built ASICs and accelerators, and foundry services. Intel's industry-leading CPUs and ecosystem, along with our US-based leading-edge logic manufacturing and R&D, position us well to capitalize on these trends over time, end quote. According to Intel's financial report, this marks the strongest quarter it's had since 2023, swinging from a $16.6 billion loss a year ago to $4.1 billion in net income. Cost cutting is a major contributing factor, as you will learn from the thousands upon thousands of laid-off employees. Intel's results were also boosted by $5.7 billion in U.S. government funding and major investments from NVIDIA and SoftBank during the quarter. NVIDIA has promised $5 billion, and SoftBank has pledged $2 billion, with the U.S. government reoffering backdated prior commitments. Intel's client computing group was the biggest revenue driver at $8.5 billion. This represented a 5% increase from Q3 2024. Its data center and AI group and foundry services posted revenues of $4.1 billion and $4.2 billion, representing 1% and 2% declines from the prior year. Despite Intel's client computing group bringing in the most revenue, according to Tom's Hardware, the company will prioritize supplying CPUs for data centers moving forward. Positioning the company to focus on the data center market, Intel Chief Financial Officer David Zinsner and former co-CEO stated, quote, in Q4, we expect the client computing group to be down modestly and data center and AI group to be up strongly sequentially as we prioritize wafer capacity for server shipments over entry-level client parts, end quote. Tom's also prints that the CFO added, quote, capacity constraints, especially on Intel 10 and Intel 7, which are the names of their nodes, limited our ability to fully meet demand in Q3 for both data center and client products, end quote. Now, he did highlight tight capacity and also said that they are working with their customers on pricing. Now, some of this touches upon our last hardware news episode, where we reported on how Intel's 12th and 14th gen CPUs were increasing in certain markets like Japan and South Korea. Zinsner also mentioned production challenges across the industry as of late. He pointed towards, quote, widely reported substrate shortages, end quote, and used that to caution investors. So a couple things here. First of all, Intel's client-side CPUs continue to be absolutely battered by what AMD is doing right now. It's like not even close. It's basically Intel in the AMD bulldozer era. And Intel's also increasing its prices at the moment for several of its CPU categories. So that's not going to be good for the client side. The company is, though, recovering from its worst CPU disaster in years with the 13th and 14th gen CPUs between the oxidation issues and the VMIN shift issues. And that is likely another contributing factor here, where if there's some more consumer confidence because people believe Intel has fixed those issues on those prior generation CPUs, or they believe they don't exist on Arrow Lake, then maybe that's contributing as well to some of the performance there. We do hope that Intel improves for sake of competition, both in the fab industry, or maybe more particularly in the fab industry and in the CPU industry. Intel does have to earn that improvement. You don't kickstart a multi-billion-dollar company that's now partially owned by a government. But we are a little bit worried still that the cost-cut heavy approach Intel has had to trying to right the ship might go too far. So that's been a repeated concern of ours when reporting on some of the layoffs in different key areas Intel has had, where just sort of axing things and starting over from scratch. There are maybe some places where Intel's been heavy on inefficiency and things they don't need. At the same time, they have been cutting a lot of engineers this year. And that is going to have a big impact that is maybe not immediately transparent, because there's a lot of tribal knowledge loss there, and it may not reflect immediately in the short term, but long term, as they need to get new products onto the roadmap that are actually competitive, that could start to matter. So we're still a little concerned there for Intel's approach to turning it around, which has just been basically cut everything and sell a bunch of assets like companies that they were involved in. So anyway, we'll continue to follow it. But next up, Microsoft's bastard son for Clippy. So first, there was Clippy. Things were innocent back then, as Louis Rossmann has pointed out. Then there was Cortana. Then they killed Cortana. Then they sent Cortana to a farm in upstate New York. She went to go live with Clippy. Now, Microsoft is introducing its latest AI assistant, Miko, or Myko, We don't know. There was no audio attached to it. But as we all know, a Clippy, by any other name, would be just as useless, but maybe less endearing. Now, the CEO of Microsoft's AI division, and presumably its human AI marketing team, needs to stay employed, so they wrote a blog post. The blog post says that the name Myco represents a blend of Microsoft and Copilot. Myco, quote, is expressive, customizable, and warm. This optional visual presence listens, reacts, and even changes colors to reflect your interactions, making voice conversations feel more natural. Myco shows support through animation and expressions, creating a friendly and engaging experience, end quote. To show off its new AI conversational Myco assistant in classic Microsoft fashion, they put a video out. The blog says, quote, click here to meet Myco, which takes you to this 39-second video of Myco, the AI conversational assistant. Now, I want to warn you, we are going to play 5 seconds of the full audio from this Microsoft advertisement from Myco. I will caution you, do not turn your speakers up under any circumstance. It is not a mistake. Let's cut to the clip. Yes, that's right, that's Myco. It was 39 seconds of complete fucking silence in their video for the AI chatbot assistant that has friendly conversations. Look, I don't know. I just tell you the news. I don't know that I can explain it. Now, you may have noticed that the video didn't have audio, and so did other commenters. One commenter wrote, quote, I thought my speakers broke, end quote. Another said, quote, at least Clippy had sound, end quote. The good news is that the video shows Myco, Clippy's inferior inbred cousin.
Hello, it looks like you want to replace me with an AI slop Clippy. Would you like help with that? Option 1, AI, took my job and kids. Option 2, AI, I hardly know her. Option 3, AI.
Spinning at a low frame rate and with a stunning low resolution. You can really see the pixels for Myco. Now look, the blog post is amateur hour, but a lot of times these things are put together by their interns, so like we kind of get it, and it says the CEO of Microsoft AI, so you know, things really have gone downhill since the Ballmer era.
Developers. Yes!
Up next, AI roles were previously seen as immune to layoffs, but nope, Meta says that it is laying off 600 AI-focused employees. TechSpot reported that, quote, workers in Meta's legacy fundamental AI research unit, or FAIR, that's actually what it comes out to. And the quote continues, its AI product and infrastructure division will be affected, end quote. It's like Facebook's trying to like manifest things into existence. They're like, you know, if we just pirate books and use that to train our LLMs, but we call the division FAIR, then we're gonna get a fair use ruling. They actually did get the fair use ruling. That's covered in an extensive video on our GNCA channel. If you want more existential dread, then you can check that one out. You're welcome. I'll link it below. Meta apparently has a chief AI officer, and that person is apparently an actual human. The allegedly human chief AI officer stated, quote, by reducing the size of our team, fewer conversations will be required to make a decision, and each person will be more load-bearing and have more scope and impact, end quote. Now, of course, he added, quote, the layoffs will continue until morale improves. I'm being told that's not actually the exact quote, but I think that's kind of the gist of it. So OpenAI CEO Sam Altman said that Meta was previously at one point offering $100 million in signing bonuses to poach OpenAI employees. So I don't fucking know, man. Like, this is, all of the money is make-believe at this point. While Meta is still heavily invested in AI, the layoffs here begin to show the cracks in the AI bubble, or in the very least, Meta's confidence in that space. Okay, I think this is the last AI one for this week. Speaking of it, newly acquired Trump family and Saudi asset EA Games, or soon to be acquired at least, has announced a partnership with Stability AI. The game publisher wrote in a blog post that its partnership with Stability AI, quote, will help unlock faster iteration, accelerate workflows, and expand creative possibilities, end quote. Speaking to what AI can or can't do, the blog post read, quote, it can draft, generate, and analyze, but it can't imagine, empathize, or dream, end quote. Which is a perfect fit because neither can EA's executives, hashtag Free Westwood Studios. The post continued, quote, "That's the work of EA's extraordinary artists, designers, developers, storytellers, and innovators," before probably continuing and saying, "Until AI can do that too." Speaking of layoffs and AI, EA is no stranger to either. According to Business Insider, the company has been trying to get its employees to use AI tools for several months prior to this partnership with Stability AI. Business Insider wrote, quote, "Leadership has spent the past year urging its nearly 15,000 employees to use AI for just about everything, from creative projects like cranking out code and concept art to managerial work like scripting conversations with direct reports about sensitive topics such as pay and promotions," end quote. This is so fucking stupid at this point. It's like, this is not how you do these things. Like, these are people discussions. They should be having conversations with people. Like, that's what that last example, that's what that is. Jesus fuck. All right. Anyway, anonymous employees told Business Insider that AI has created additional unwanted work, with the publication writing, quote, "Some electronics arts staffers who spoke with Business Insider under the condition of anonymity say the AI tools they're encouraged to use, including the company's in-house chatbot, Reef, let me just read that again, Reef GPT, produce flawed code and other so-called hallucinations that they need to correct," end quote. I feel like we're being trolled at this point. Now, EA CEO Andrew Wilson, who will remain CEO once the acquisition is complete, has talked about AI plenty in interviews. EA intends to use AI tools to reduce cost and overhead.
AI agent. AI.
The company is seemingly obsessed with the premise of eliminating more jobs. Realistically, the thing EA is best at is gutting companies for assets and then mothballing what's left, which seems like a perfect irony for what's likely to happen to it. And again, maybe separately, if the topic of EA's acquisition interests you, we have a full deep dive on that and the connections in the chain on the GNCA channel. I will link that below for you. All right, last one. With all this AI, it will help to have something less stupid to talk about. Retro Games Limited revealed that it's working with Play on Replay, which unfortunately replaces the Y's with I's, which makes it say AI twice, but I'm going to choose to look the other way for now, to develop a modern-day remake of the Amiga 1200. It's called the A1200, and it aims to faithfully recreate the beloved 90s-era gaming system, but with modern amenities like HDMI and USB connectivity. The original Amiga 1200 that the remake is based on launched in 1992 and had a Motorola 68EC020 CPU, 2 megabytes of what they then called chip RAM, and also some expansion options for it. They also had dedicated graphics processing hardware. The A1200 remake will come with a full-size keyboard, 25 classic games, coupled with 4 save slots per game, and will include a mouse and controller. The A1200 will also have scaling options along with a CRT filter. Now, they say pre-orders will go up first, November 10th or something, with a scheduled launch of June 2026. I don't know, maybe we'll try and get one for a teardown if it's interesting enough to people. I'll wait for the June launch if we do that, but that might be kind of fun to just take that apart. So anyway, that's it for this one. Thanks for watching. Check back to see me completely lose my mind at some point. It'll happen, and when it does, it'll be here on Hardware News. So make sure you check back, I guess, regularly for that. Otherwise, we have some really cool stuff online. So Animation Error, if you haven't seen it, is an awesome deep dive into a new testing approach. We're starting to roll that out on GPUs now. Linux testing update for you is Mike has been running several of the GPUs this past week. Patrick was running them before him through Linux, through Bazite we're using for benchmarks. And I think we're down to maybe the last 3 or so GPUs at the time we're recording this. So we'll have that testing done and wrapped pretty soon for a video. And then the articles on the site for PC builds, if you want to check those out, that Jeremy wrote on the team. All right, that's it for this one. Thanks for watching. Subscribe for more. Go to store.gamersaccess.net to support us and our team directly. See you all next time.